Hello guys, welcome back to another video. So if you noticed the title, this is true. So I got discriminated against based on my disability and medical equipment. So let's get to that video. Today, which was the 22nd, 23rd, I don't know. Wait, let me check. 25th. So September 25th, I got discriminated against. So I went to a radiology place to get my MRI on my spine. So let me tell the story. I'm bad at story times. I'm sorry, but I'll do my best. I didn't get this on video, which I wish I would have, not for YouTube purposes, but just for my own legal purposes. But anyway, so I walked in. I walked in originally by myself because of COVID. There was a sign that said, you know, only the patient can walk in. But then it was overwhelming and I needed help with paperwork and all this stuff. So I ended up going back out to get my service dog and my PCA, my personal care assistant. And on the side it said, unless you need assistance. So I just told him, she's my PCA. And the COVID guy who, you know, checks your temperature and asks you all the questions about COVID, he was fine with that. He was actually really nice. But then we went to the check-in counter, and the problem was not my PCA. It was indeed my service dog. So I went to the check-in counter, and they gave me the forms to fill out for my MRI. So I filled those out. That was fine. That went smoothly. Actually, my PCA helped me fill them out, but you know. And they asked, is that a service dog? A legal question. So of course I was like, yes, he is. But because I figured after that they were going to be like, oh, he can't go back with you. It's not going to be enough room, you know, all that stuff. And so I wanted to let them know that I already planned that he wasn't going to be back there. He was just going to be waiting with me to help task while I'm waiting. So I said, yes, he is, but he is not going to be going back with me. He's going to be staying with her. I pointed to my PCA. He's going to be staying with her. And they were like, okay. And then they went and got me another form. And I deep down was like, oh, don't get it. Because I went to a hospital one other time to get chest x-rays. And they gave me this completely illegal form. That time we actually got my right without me having to fill it out. It's a long story. So when she went back to get a form, I was deep down being like, oh my God, is she going to get a form like that? And she did. It was pretty much exactly the same thing. And in this form, they ask illegal questions. They cannot require for you to tell them your dog's name, and they cannot require for you to write down a written description of your dog. And they cannot require the dog has to stay on leash if, due to your disabilities and tasks like I need, the dog has to be off leash for. So they went back and got this completely illegal form. Not only were they requiring illegal questions, like if a store asks what's your dog's name, that's not illegal. They're not requiring it for me to enter. They're just curious. You can or you can't answer, whatever you want to do. I normally just say Sergeant, just so that way they don't try and distract him by calling him. He is really good at not listening, but also I find if I say Sergeant, people don't think it's as cute, and so they just kind of back off at that point. So I always just say Sergeant, but it's not required. But they were requiring this information, which is how come it made it illegal. On this entire form, which maybe I will have like a picture of it because I posted it on Instagram. But on this form, they were calling him a pet throughout it. And on the ADA, which I probably also have a picture of that, it clearly states a service dog is not a pet. They are working animals. They are classified as medical equipment under the ADA. So this entire pet form was completely illegal. Sorry, my laptop's making weird noises. Was completely illegal for them to have me to try and get me to fill out. So I told them, I was like, I'm not going to fill this out. This is completely illegal. You cannot ask this, or require this. And he is not a pet. He is a service dog. He is classified as medical equipment. Obviously, they didn't like the answer. They're like, oh, you need to fill out this form. So then they got me their pet policy. Now, it's weird because outside of the store, or outside of the medical facility, it clearly states pets are not allowed, but then they have this whole pet policy about pets. But in this pet policy, they're talking about service dogs, which are not classified as pets. They're classified as working animals or medical equipment. Now, this pet policy they gave me was the legal ADA stuff. Like, it states the difference between a pet, the difference between a service dog, and the difference between, I think it was an emotional support animal or something. And then future editing Lydia here. So I have their pet policy in my hand, and so I thought I would just go ahead and read it to you guys. Quote unquote pet policy. Again, service dogs are not a pet, but whatever. Just gonna read the definitions. They literally have the correct definitions for the most part, except they kind of got one of them wrong. You'll see. So it says service animals, dogs and miniature horses that are individually trained or in the process of being trained, my state recognizes as service dog in training, to perform specific tasks related to an individual's disability is established by the Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA. That is correct. Then they have companion animals. Now here they literally describe an ESA, so they did get that wrong, but I'm just going to read it. Dogs and other animals that are not trained to perform a particular task, but whose physical presence alone reduces an individual's anxiety or stress levels. And then personal pets. Employees, medical staff, contractors, tenants, employees, students, volunteers, families, and visitors are not permitted to bring personal pets into the facility. However, then they say, so they can't bring personal pets, and then it says, in order to ensure the safety of our patients, staff, and visitors, animals are not allowed in our facility, except for specific and limited expectations described in this policy. Companion animals are not permitted, which means, therefore, only service animals are permitted. So why are they giving me this pet handler responsibility form when they state right there that a service animal is not a pet? Nor a quote-unquote companion animal, but that's literally an ESA they described, but whatever. So, you see the issue. So, at first I thought maybe they allowed pets, which is why they were confused at the differences, because this literally just states pet things and illegal questions. But no, they literally only allow service animals, so that's all this pet handler responsibility form is for. But yes, tomorrow we are going to contact, or I don't know when this is going up, but we are contacting a attorney who specializes in discrimination, and so I'll keep you guys updated. Yeah, so. Then it had the legal questions you can ask. So it was, and I told them, I was like, okay, well, this is correct. And so then they gave me back the other form about the pets, and I was like, but that is not correct. This form stating the service dog laws is correct. This form that you're trying to get me to fill out about pets is not correct and not legal. So because I said one was correct, I thought I had to fill out the other one, and I think it was correct now, but it wasn't. So it was weird because they were kind of intertwining pet laws with service dog laws. And so I thought at first maybe they do allow pets because maybe that's what's confusing them, but their pet policy clearly states no pets allowed, only service animals, medical equipment. So that wasn't the case at all. Like, they give it to handlers, so that's the whole point of this form. So of course I educated them. I told them, you know, the legal 2 questions. Hi baby, he was sleeping in my room. I said the legal 2 questions you can ask, is this a service dog? Yes. And what tasks is it trained for your disabilities? Which I answered. So I said that's the only questions. They got the supervisor who was working that day, and she, you know, basically spewed out the whole thing, saying, oh, well, I have to fill out this to be there, and all this stuff. And so we were educating, you know, no, he's not a pet, he's medical equipment. So she's like, okay, well, I'll just write service dog. And I was like, well, that's not the point, because no, if he's tasking or has to be off leash for my disabilities, he does not have to be on leash. And I don't have to show you the stuff. Even on it was like, oh, you have to show your photo ID, which they cannot ask just because you have a service dog. When I first came in, they asked to see it when I was filling out the medical paperwork, because they asked that from every patient. They can do that, but they can't request a medical or your ID just on the basis of you have a service dog if they don't request that ID from other people. And on this form, it was like, oh, you have to show them your ID and all this stuff. If they didn't already have my ID on file, or if they already had my ID on file or something and didn't need it for my medical stuff, they couldn't have just asked me because of the fact I have a service dog. That would have been highly illegal. And she was like, oh, our lawyers check this paperwork over, which is completely BS, because no lawyer is going to say a service dog is a pet, and no lawyer is going to say that dog has to be on leash when in fact due to certain disabilities they do not have to be. And no lawyer is going to say that this information they were asking was legal to ask for. So that was completely lies. Like the ADA, I printed it out because I just wanted a hard copy of it that I could just look through. I printed it out. It's literally 3 pages, and the last page is just phone numbers. Like, it's not a hard law, or the service animal one, sorry, let me clarify. The service animal portion of it, which is the portion that I needed. But, yeah, so it's not a hard law to memorize and to get about service animals. Hi, Debbie. He's the leg up. But, yeah, so, while I was standing there, Patches was alerting and responding because, you know, the added stress and everything, was terrible. But, yeah, so, and then my mom straight up said, hey, are you going to discriminate against my daughter? If so, tell me now and we'll go elsewhere. And she straight up said, yeah, if she's not going to fill out this form, which is a completely illegal form, so she straight up said she was going to discriminate against me because of the fact I needed my service dog. Again, let me specify before I get comments, all you comment people, yes, the plan was that he was going to wait with my PCA. She was going to bring him back out to the car while I was in getting my MRI, and they were going to meet up with me 20 minutes later when it was over. So, he was just in the waiting room with me. I don't do good with medical things. I get stressed out. I needed a lot of, mainly his psychiatric tasks, maybe possibly even alerts while I was waiting for someone to come in with me. And so I needed him there for just the waiting room. He was literally going to be in there for like 5 minutes. You know, it was just while I was getting in and set up. And then he was going to leave with her because I fully knew that there's no way he can alert and respond when I'm getting an MRI. There's no way where for him to go. It's not safe to have him around all that, you know, MRI equipment, you know, like I guess it works on magnets or something, but I don't know if they do if it's like radiation or what. I just feel like it's not safe for him to be around that kind of thing, just in case it's putting off radiation or something, I don't know. So the plan was not for him to be back there, and I straight up said that up front, that he was just in the waiting room, he was gonna leave with her, and then meet back up with me when I was done. So that way I wasn't in there completely by myself, which is never a good idea, and the room was pretty packed, so I really needed him. Sorry, let me take a breath. So, she straight up said, yes, we're going to discriminate against your daughter because she's not going to fill out this pet form, this pet policy. Even though a service dog is not classified as pet, they are classified as medical equipment or working animals in the ADA. So legally, and they were asking, again, illegal questions. So what am I going to do about this? So I ended up leaving because at the end, after my mom tried talking with her and stuff, she would not come down, she would not back down from it and learn the laws. So she ended up saying, oh, well, we're not going to serve you today. So I couldn't get my much needed MRI. I've waited like 2-3 weeks for this. So I have to reschedule at a different place, which could take 2 more weeks to get in. But we've already called and made sure that they know the laws, which they do, just because I can't keep doing this. I need my MRI. So thankfully, the next place I'm going to go to knows the laws. They said, oh, we're not going to have her fill out a form like that because, oh, yeah, that's illegal. So I scheduled it somewhere else. But what am I going to do about this, you might ask? I will be contacting my attorney on Monday. This happened on a Friday, so there wasn't, like, a time I could. Thankfully, I was on an anti-anxiety medicine because I took it before my MRI, or I was going to get my MRI. So thankfully, halfway through arguing with this, I was like in tears. I was like shaking. I hate confrontation between my PTSD and anxiety. I just don't like confrontation. And when I get anxiety, then that causes my medical conditions, fainting and stop breathing and stuff, to act up more, just because stress does that with a lot of chronic illnesses. It can make it worse. And so, but thankfully, halfway through educating, that medicine kicked in, so then I wasn't as anxious. I was just more upset that they were denying me. It feels really sickening and crappy to be denied based on disability and medical equipment that you rely on with your life. It feels really bad. So, but yes, we will be contacting my attorney. I just want them to change this form so that way more handlers don't have to deal with this. That's literally all I want. I just want this form to be done with. You know, I want them to learn the laws, the legal questions. Yeah, so it felt really crappy to, it's my first public, because I've had 2 other public access issues, which thankfully, I'm thankful for. I know some people have way more, depending on state and where you live in that state, like it can be so different. So I'm really thankful that I've only had 2 public access issues, and both I've been able to fight, you know, after saying I'm going to call the cops and stuff, they've let me in. I didn't say that this time just because my appointment time was passing. It's not like that would have done anything, which is how come I didn't say I'm going to call the cops to get my rights this time, just because it wouldn't have done anything in an appointment. But actually I've had 3 public access issues, because then there was the other medical facility that tried to deny me and want me to fill out the same kind of form. So I'm thankful though that I haven't had that many. But this is the first one where I've really been like not even able to fight my way through it, and where they're just like, well, we're not going to see you. We're going to discriminate. Like, she straight up said she was just going to discriminate against me because I have a service dog. She didn't even try and argue that she wasn't discriminating, which made me even more like her. I mean, it is hurtful to be discriminated against based on disability. Disability and medical equipment, it really is hurtful. Just because I rely on my dog for my life. He's my freedom, he's my independence. If I had went in looking all able-bodied like I did the first time, it never would have happened. But because of the fact that I had to go out and get my medical equipment because I wasn't doing good in there by myself, and I needed help with from my PCA, because of the fact I had to go out and get my help, I got discriminated against openly, and it was a waiting room full of people. I'm sure a lot of people heard it, and it's just hurtful. It really is, because it's not all our fault we have a disability. It's not our fault that we rely on the medical equipment we rely on. I love my dog. He's the one good thing that has come from my disabilities. Growing up, I hated being disabled. I hated it. I always knew I was disabled. I always knew I had chronic illnesses. I always knew these things about myself, and I hated it with every inch of my being. But when I turned, how old was I when I think I was 20 when I started deciding to get a service dog. I think I was 21 when I actually got a puppy prospect, him. So when I actually got him was when I started to not hate my disabilities, because he was the one good thing. You know, I've lost so many dreams and hopes because I'm disabled. You know, I wanted to be a teacher. It seemed like such a simple dream that could just happen, you know, but it wasn't. You know, between my chronic illnesses and disabilities, I can't be a teacher. I can't work a full-time job. Right now I can't even work a part-time job. So he's the one good thing that has come from my disabilities, even though it's hard to have a service dog, and people don't understand that. It's hard to get looked at everywhere you go, especially when you already have mental issues as well. It's hard to be looked at wherever you go. It's hard to get these public access issues, especially when you have PTSD and other things that make standing up for yourself so incredibly hard. But because of my temperament, I'm also like, I'm not going to let people get away with this stuff. You know, if you're going to discriminate, then I will stand up for myself. And that, don't get me wrong, that's taken me a while. My first public access issue, I just walked out. I didn't even try and argue it. So it's taken, in fact, some people have asked me, how do you stand up for public access issues? If they have other mental illnesses as well. And my answer is always, you know, practice it to yourself. You know, if you're going to get a service dog, or you have a service dog, go in your bedroom and just practice it. Pretend like a store is denying you and talk out what you're going to say. Or same thing for people, because at first it was even hard for me to tell people not to pet him. Like, I would stutter, I would just not say anything. Like, it was hard, even if they asked, for me to say no. So just practice these issues, and eventually, when the time comes, it's all scripted in your head, it'll turn on, and you can just do it. And don't get me wrong, it's hard. I shake, I cry. Thankfully, I was on anti-anxiety medicine this time. So don't get me wrong, it's really hard, but that's my advice. But yeah, it's hard because, you know, we rely on our dogs. You know, I don't want a service dog. I need a service dog. I need him for my safety, independence, freedom. I need him. And so it's hard to be denied based on him because of the fact that I need him so incredibly much. And It's sad that ableism still exists in everyday society and that people just don't understand service dogs. And even medical facilities. Like, I've had 2 public access issues now at medical facilities. They should know the laws. Like, this is where we go the most as chronically sick and disabled people, and yet they don't know the laws. But I'm not going to sign off that he's a pet. So some people might be like, oh, well, why didn't you just sign all this stuff and you could have gotten your MRI? Like, I'm not going to sign off he's a pet and then later have that somehow end up somewhere that I signed off he's a pet. But also, I'm not going to give them illegal information that they can't legally require for me to enter a business. I'm not gonna give myself away like that. I'm gonna fight it so that way, if another handler goes to the same place, they get their rights, and Easy does it. You know, like, they get their rights with them knowing the laws. I know that there's probably so many places I go to where someone has probably gotten denied and has had to fight that right. So I know that handlers before me have probably had to get their access rights places. Therefore, I want to do that for people if I can. So I am going to be contacting an attorney because this was illegal. They completely discriminated against me, denied me. It is hurtful. I mean, it still feels hurtful, honestly. I mean, it really does feel crushing because it's like, we're disabled. We need our dogs. I can't just go without him, you know? Like, I went out to get him because of the fact I couldn't just go without him, even in the waiting room. So I went back out and got him. And it's really hurtful because it feels like you're less than, you know? It makes you feel less than. If I had walked in able-bodied, none of this would have happened. I would have had my MRI and been out, done with it. But because I'm disabled and need medical equipment and a service dog, which is the most, like, misunderstood medical equipment compared to a wheelchair or an oxygen tank. It's the most misunderstood one, which I get. There's so many fakes that have caused so many issues. I get this. But my dog was in there acting like a service dog. He was clearly healing, watching me, even started alerting. Even my PCA was like, he's alerting to you, because he started alerting halfway through this argument. But yeah, it still feels hurtful. It really does. It feels dehumanizing to be like, to know that if I had came in by myself and been able to get through that by myself without my chronic illnesses and disabilities, that I would have had my MRI and it would have been done. So it's really hurtful because of the fact of my medical equipment I got denied. It really is hurtful. It's the first time I fully got denied because of him. Like, again, normally I can fight my way through it and they end up giving it, or learning the laws, I mean. But this is the first time where I couldn't even do that. It just didn't matter. I'm sorry for the long video. I think I will upload this. I was going to upload updates throughout this, but it's longer than I thought it was going to be. I was like, I don't even know what I have that much to say about it. But I did, apparently. But yeah, so they need to learn the laws. Medical facilities particularly need to learn the laws. That's where we need to go the most for treatments and stuff, you know. Like, I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't. So, yeah, so I got discriminated against. I ended up having to leave. It sucked that I was kind of mad that I had already taken my anti-anxiety pill because I was like, I took it for no reason. If you don't know, I mean, anyway, the kind I got prescribed makes you tired, too. So I was tired the rest of the day, which I always am tired, but it makes you extra tired on top of that. And so I was mad that I had already taken it, but at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, I guess I needed it because that's when it, you know, spikes your anxiety to be discriminated against. But yeah, it's really hurtful. Patches was clearly healing. I'm so glad I have my PCA as a witness to the entire thing. She has a witness to Patches' behavior, so they can't lie and say, oh, he was pulling or something, you know, because she was a witness to his behavior as well as exactly what was said. It was also weird because while the lady was on the phone with my mom, she, like, talked quiet, like, she didn't want us to hear, which is weird to me because it's like, of course my mom's going to say what was said, like, she's going to tell me, but she talked quiet, like, she didn't want me to hear what was going on. She, like, stood back from us and talked really low and quiet, so we really had to listen to what was being said, which was really weird to me, but whatever. we didn't get the right. So we are going to be filing a claim. Anyway, I think that's it for this video. I was going to do updates throughout it, but this is already half an hour long. I'm so sorry for the long video, but I just want to get you guys my feelings and my emotion on it, because it's a weird feeling. It feels awful to be discriminated against based on disabilities and medical equipment. Like, it feels really terrible to be discriminated against. Like, I've never felt so much more dehumanized than I do right now. Like, I've never felt like that. Even in other past PA issues, I've been able to fight them and get my rights. So the fact that I couldn't even get it and I ended up having to leave and now file a claim, it feels like, I don't know how to describe it. It feels awful. Because if I was an able-bodied person that had come in there, none of this would have happened. So it feels really like, it's the first time that makes you go, oh, I really do have it. Like, obviously I have disabilities, but it makes you really feel like, you know, oh, I really am different than the average public. Because if I was the average public walking in there, none of this would have happened. Anywho, I hope you like this video. Just so he's in it. Please like, comment, subscribe, do all the things. Now it's about Angel. And we'll see you later. Bye, guys. Hello, everyone. Thanks for visiting my channel at Officially Lydia's Life. Please like, subscribe, turn on those bell notifications, and leave a nice comment if you have something to say. Thanks. Bye.